In this clip, we'll take a look at using our UV layout as a guide to start creating textures in image editing applications like Photoshop. So we have our UV layout here in our UV editor. To get this out as an image, all we have to do is go down here to polygons. Let me rip this off so that you can see it. It's going to be at the bottom here. Go to UV snapshot. Now here is a path where we can save out our image, and if you want to name this something else, we could call this out UV drone. We can change the size. The image that I have is really big, so I'm going to actually make this the same size, 4K. And the image format, it may be set to IFF, but you can change that over to JPEG if you want to. And then the range is going to be normal 0 to 1, which is this top right corner, which is where we have everything. So say OK to that. It's going to save out that image in our Maya project. So the next thing that we need to do is bring this up in our image editing application. So I'm going to be using Photoshop. You don't have to use Photoshop. This will work the same way with whatever application you do use. However, if you want to use the project files, which will be important in getting this particular texture, you will have to use Photoshop, as we're using a PSD with layers that you can move around. So let's grab the drone bump.psd and let's open that up. So you can see there are a bunch of different layers here. There's these lines that are different shades. There's these little shapes here that are black. Lots of different stuff, and we'll talk about this in a second. But first, let's get our UV map in here. So let's open that up. And I believe it saved it in the images folder. So in our project, go to images, and let's select this out UV drone. And you can see it's black with white wireframe. It doesn't matter. You can also make that white with a black wireframe. It doesn't matter which you use. All we're going to use this for is a temporary guide to build our texture. So let's go ahead and select this all, copy it, and then let's paste it in here. I'm going to paste it up on the top level here. So let's move this all the way up to the top. And then we can blend this with the ones below it. So you can see if we hit multiply, it's not really doing what we want. So let's do a screen, I think is what we want. There we go. So if we screen that, you can see now we get an overlay of our UVs with all of the details. So rather than making these all from scratch, the problem is that my UVs are not going to match up exactly with the UVs that you have. So watch what I do and where I put these, but you're going to put them in a slightly different spot based on wherever your UV guide is. Okay, if that makes sense. So you can see the vents that we have here. So if I grab one of these vents, you can see that's this one. I want to come in and put these kind of right along here, right along this edge, and right up to this sort of point here. And so I would just go in and grab these different vent pieces and come in and kind of put them in position. And angle-wise, they should be pretty close to what we want. So you may have to move in some different spots to get those exactly where you want them to be. Okay. Let me enlarge this so I can see things a little bit better. So we've done that one. We still need to do this one, I think. So come down and grab all of our vents. Here's the initial one. And so get these into position, just like that. And you can use the arrow keys if you want to tweak them a little bit for positioning. You can see we still have some down here. Let's close that out. And you can use the eyedropper to see which ones you're still needing. So this one we'll kind of put up into position here. And you can see there's one missing over here. I may have deleted it on accident. But this vent copy, you can grab any that are on that same side. Just hit Alt and drag it over. And then we can rotate it. I'm just going to rotate it around and put it into position. And these are just a series of rounded rectangles that we're using here for these sort of vents. And we want to get these squared away so that when we create the color map, they'll be in the right spot. You can see here we also have these kind of lines coming in, and then we also have this sort of label. And so I want to move everything over. This label should be in the center. And we also have the arrows. We'll do that in a second though. So let's come in here, and here's our lines. So let's grab the lines, and let's also grab this here, and let's move this over altogether. So we'll move the label over. I think these need to come back a bit. So go ahead and just select those and kind of bring those back over. And you can see that they might not match exactly. So they may need to come up a bit. We don't want them to penetrate into our little vents there. So something along those lines. And you can move the vents out too if you need to. So let's take a look at those vents. Right in there. Let's grab this one. I'm going to move it a little bit closer and do the same thing over there. So once we've got the bump set up, let's just take a quick look at what that's going to mean. Let me grab the arrows first of all and put those. I'm just going to put them right in front of the little spots there. I'm going to do it really quickly and not be too careful about it. You can kind of see where I'm putting them. So just grab those and put them in front there. And let's talk about the theory of what's supposed to happen with the colors in here. So this is a bump map. So this is supposed to be a half gray, 50% gray. That means nothing's going to happen with that. Anything that's darker than that is going to appear to be pushed into the surface, whereas anything that's lighter than that's going to appear to be raised up. So this is going to appear to be pushed in a little bit. These are going to be pushed way in, and then these are going to appear to be raised up a little bit. Now the line, you can see it's kind of a seam there. Sorry, this one. And you can see it sort of is overlapping. Grab this. It's sort of overlapping a little bit, so we may need to adjust that a little as it comes in. But let's take a look at what this is going to look like. So let's just save out a temporary version. So we're going to go to Save As, and I'm just going to choose a JPEG. I'm going to do drone bump temp, and let's go ahead and save it. It's going to bring up your options. Just say OK to that, and then as quick as we can, let's jump over here. I'm going to come back to Classic View. Go ahead and smooth that. And let's go into our Hypershade and add the texture in. We want the texture to be added into our material. So the material that we're using right now is this white plastic. I want to actually duplicate this material. So Edit, Duplicate Shading Network. And we'll call this white plastic texture. Okay. And I want to apply the texture just to these faces. So we can actually use our UV layout. Let me go into our editor here. There we go. And we can actually grab the faces. And we can go to the shell. And then we can assign this material just to those polygons. So the white plastic itself will be on the bottom, and then this one will have the texture on it. It'll just be assigned to the top. And with that white plastic text selected, we want to come down and we want to add our image into the bump. So let's come down here to the bump mapping section. Click on the little square here. It's going to bring up our node selection, create render node. Let's choose file. This brings us into our bump node. Let's choose under our bump value, we want to go in and grab the actual file. Let's come in and grab our bump temp. So we've added that now into our bump. We haven't changed the bump value. So let's leave this right here. If we go in and choose our text, we can actually map this out. If we hit this little button, and then we can come in here to our bump node and choose the bump depth. So I'm going to pull this off to the side, and let's take a look at what this looks like. So let's grab the Arnold render view. And let's go ahead and let this render. So you can see that now we have those pieces that look like they're pushed in. Those are the little vents. And then we have the lines coming through. If it's a little bit too drastic, which I think it is, we can just select this bump node and choose our bump depth as something a little bit lower. So let's do like a 0.3 or so. And then you'll see this will update. So you can see that dials down the intensity of it. So in the next clip, let's use our bump map as a guide to create our now color map for it. So let's do that next.